Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. We're ready to start the webinar now, so welcome. And just a repeat of what I just said to the early arrivals. If you want to ask a question, please send me a video. Sorry, please send me a message during the webinar. I'm just trying to move this. Okay. So hopefully everyone can see everything all right, and we're ready to go. Crowdsource funding, equity raising, growing with your clients. This is a great opportunity for accountants. Why, you might ask? Well, equity is already being raised by some small proprietary companies who have taken advantage of the change in the law that's been applicable since the 19th of October 2018. Equity is being raised through the 7 intermediaries who have been appointed by ASIC, and they are now very active in the marketplace. It's quite worthwhile having a look at their websites, and I'm going to give you details of the names of the individual intermediaries and their website addresses later in this webinar today. Let's have a look at some of the capital raisings that have already commenced, because this is the hot news. Companies are out there already. Now, some of these have taken advantage of the previous law, which required a proprietary company to convert to an unlisted public company, but it is very illustrative of what is starting to happen in this place. A digital bank has raised 2.4 million. Premium socks and underwear raised 363,000. Digital platform that matches moviegoers with empty seats, 294,500. Incidentally, we are going to send you by tomorrow a copy of the PowerPoint slides for this webinar. So if you don't need to write down information, you needn't worry, because we're going to be sending those to you tomorrow. The Australian Champion Gin Company has raised $932,000. Flat water bottle designed to fit into your bag, $383,000. I hope you're observing the wide variety of business activities that are shown in this list. A timekeeper luxury brands with Australian-inspired crowns, $294,000. A global currency app and prepaid Visa card that you can use anywhere, $248,000 raised. An investment in a gaming brand, $361,000. A leading soccer brand, soccer balls, clothing, $316,000 raised. An Australian take on modern Japanese fusion, $184,000 raised. Now let's look at some of the current listings that the intermediaries have on their websites. And this market is starting to emerge, has been very well organized. The intermediaries are doing their role. What they are looking for now, though, is quality applicants, people that they can work with. And this is where the challenge is for you as accountants. Are you going to help your clients and the small business community to get ready, get prepared, so that they can join this journey to be able to raise capital? So we have a craft beer manufacturer. In fact, I found at least 3 craft beer, wine, spirit manufacturers on the various intermediaries' websites. We've got a surfboard design company, technology to supplement livestock, health supplements, manufactures Australian spirits. I just mentioned spirits. Travel solutions, cloud-enabled student tutoring, multi-venue medical services business in New South Wales and southern Queensland, a patented safety device seeking capital after its first sale. An established company seeking funds to expand into new networks and markets. Now, that could just as easily be any type of business, not necessarily an internet gaming. It could be a factory that produces goods. It could be a retail business that's wanting to expand. Craft beer and wine again. Tomorrow's house today, delivering the future of zero carbon housing. An immersive theme park combining education with fun. Australian Premier Shave Club. Craft beer and wine. There's a few of them. Network of professional funeral planners and celebrants. Now, that's a fairly broad list. I hope you agree. And therefore, I suggest to you that virtually any one of your clients who meets the turnover limits and the gross value asset limits, which are $25 million in each case, and is not listed on a stock exchange, could be a candidate if the company directors wish to raise capital. They could be a candidate to participate in this capital raising journey. So I think this is a great opportunity for accountants. Let's rehash again the technicalities. The annual turnover must be lower than $25 million. Now, most of these companies currently will be the clients of small to medium-sized accountancy businesses or consultancy firms, business advisory firms. Very few of them will currently be the clients of Big Four or even top 100 accounting firms, although some of them could be in that list. In the main, they are the clients of small to medium-sized accountancy firms. So it's a great opportunity for your firm to offer a proactive crowdsource funding equity raising service. The key word there is proactive. You need to signal to your clients and to your marketplace in general that your firm is willing, ready, and able to offer these services. Otherwise, clients will think that you only want to prepare income tax returns and annual accounts, perhaps audit, some financial planning, and you're not interested in any of this work. And they will seek assistance elsewhere. The real problem for you is that assistance from elsewhere might ultimately lead to some subtle pressure being applied to your client to move their annual accounts and taxation work as well. So this is an opportunity for you to grow with your clients. No one has an historical connection with this type of market in Australia because it's brand new. It's only just started. So no one can claim that they've got a whole range of history and knowledge of this type of market in Australia. It's your opportunity to grow with your clients and to enable your accounting team to grow as well. So it will present, there's no doubt about it, challenges and opportunities for your team. But it also will deliver new income streams for your accounting firm. And based on the current market for accountants in Australia, the competitive pressures you have, the commoditization of taxation return work that's occurring every day, the expert commentary that tax return preparation work is not a high growth area. Surely, therefore, having a good look at crowdsource funding equity raising should be high on your agenda. So where do you start in determining which of your clients might be interested? Because I'm not suggesting every one of your clients is going to be interested in crowdsource funding. But we have developed a client matrix which will assist you to identify the clients that fit the categories. And this is included in the ESS BIZTOOLS product package that subscribers receive. That matrix, first of all, goes through the 5 legal questions, and we've talked about a few of those already. turnover under 25 million, gross value of assets under 25 million, not listed on a stock exchange, not listed on a money market, and one or two others, which are very obscure. So why don't I identify those clients from utilizing the matrix and then invite them and prospects to attend a seminar or a webinar. Now, our suggestion is you present this free. The seminar material is all included in the product package that our subscribers receive. So all you got to do is put your firm's name on the top, put the date for the invitations, and make sure whoever is the presenter has familiarized themselves with the material and read all about crowdsource funding equity raising that we include in our product package, so that they are able to stand up in front of a group of people and talk as an expert on crowdsource funding equity raising. At the conclusion of that, I suggest that you then identify the clients that you think might be interested. They were happy with the proposal, and then have a meeting with them and discuss what you could do for them. And this is all categorized in the product package which our subscribers receive. What's crowdsource funding equity raising all about? Reconfirm it to them. Go through the eligibility and undertake an eligibility review for that particular client to make sure that they're not wasting their time and you're not wasting your time. Understand whether they are going to be potentially eligible. It's then very important that they learn about the intermediary's role, because the intermediary is a very powerful person in this total package. They'll need to understand what the crowdsource funding offer document's all about, what the questions that the legislation requires answers to, and there's a number of them, and what other information's got to be available. And then be able to advise them what's going to happen on the intermediary's website once the intermediary is satisfied that all of the documentation's okay. So there's a fair bit of work. So you can outline in general, this is what we're going to do, and here's our proposal. Now, the indicative fee for this type of work, which is really to set the scene, to find out whether the client wants to proceed on this opportunity, is around $5,000 to $10,000. And the full details of what you're going to deliver for that fee are included in our product package. Now, when the client says, yeah, they want to proceed, this is when the work starts. Because you or your colleagues in your firm who are going to be handling this process for a particular client or a prospect then need to have a meeting with the client's directors and senior managers to prepare a summary. Now, the summary could be a business plan. Perhaps you're going to prepare the business plan. Perhaps they've already got one prepared that's been prepared very recently, and when you review it, you're happy with it. But if not, you would need to prepare a business plan. But the key information to be disclosed, because the intermediary will need to see this, is the industry that your client's in, the products or services that they produce. Who are their customers? Where are they from? What's the whole basis of these customers? The team, from the CEO down. Who are the directors? Location of the business. Make sure the website is current, up to date, and reflects a dynamic and interesting business. A summary of the intellectual property that the company owns, together with details of any protection strategies that have been implemented. Patents have been registered, or patents are in the process going through the IP Australia process, or are the intellectual property items protected by trade secret agreements, etc. And what's the business's unique competitive advantage? What sets it apart from its competitors? Together with the details of the business's current financial position, are all going to need to be summarized. Part of your role then, as we see it, is that you would make a telephone call or to arrange a meeting or a telephone call or a Skype call with a number of the intermediaries. There are 7 of them currently. There are rumours floating around that ASIC's about to appoint some more intermediaries, but there's 7 at present. 4 are in Sydney, 1 in Melbourne, 1 in Adelaide, and 1 in Perth, but they will deal anywhere in Australia. So have a conversation with them. And we're going to go through some of the information that you might consider in that telephone call shortly. And discuss with the intermediary what they're going to do. Now, some of the intermediaries are specialising in particular industries. So it's no use going to one of them if it's not the industry that they want to specialise in. And discuss the fees that they're going to charge and what they're going to do for those fees. What promotion are they going to do? Because the intermediaries are able to assist you and your client in promotion of this company, producing videos, attending investment sessions, being very proactive in support of your client's company. And they're going to be adequately rewarded for this. Now, the legislation doesn't specify the fees that are going to be paid. That's up for individual negotiation between the company's directors and the intermediary. So the fee could be cash or shares in the company or a combination of both. The key thing is that whatever has been agreed has to be stated within the crowdsource funding offer document and on the intermediary's website that relates to your client's company when it is listed on that site. Now, some of the intermediaries require upfront payments to be made. So it's going to be very important from your relationship with your client that this has been clearly identified in the discussions with the various intermediaries to determine which one your client wants to work with. Now, some of the fees that some of the intermediaries are charging include an onboarding fee, and the amount seems to be a $5,000 to $10,000 fee. I'm told that it's normal that that fee is refunded from the percentage fee that is payable at the end, but you'd want to make sure that's clearly stated in the agreement. The intermediaries will be encouraging your client to have a video produced. They obviously have their preferred video preparers, but if your company's got someone and you can already show them that your client has been able to get a good standard video produced, that will probably satisfy the intermediary. But the costs of videos is $4,000 to $5,000. Design fees. The design fees are normally going to be part of the production of the crowdsource funding offer document, which is the de facto prospectus. So what it looks like, the photographs included in it, the overall presentation, because that document's going to be displayed on the internet and can be sent to potential investors. Now, the fees charged by intermediaries seem to range from 6 to 8% of the capital raised, although I did see one this morning that was talking about 4%, but it was a capital raise of about $4 million. So $160,000 will be the fee if that capital raise is successful. So your client can debate, bargain, negotiate with the intermediaries on the fees. I don't know how flexible they're going to be though. And as part of the discussions with the intermediaries, you will hear things like pre-seed round and or private launch. So your client will need to have a clear understanding of what these terms mean and what the selected intermediary's preference is. You'd also need to discuss with the intermediary what they believe should be included in the crowdsourced funding offer document. Now, the Companies Act specifies a whole range of information which must be disclosed in the document, and in our material we've listed all that information so that you can insert the answers or put NA, not applicable, if there is no reason to answer a particular question. But the intermediary will also want to have some input into the business information that's to be disclosed on your client's business. Because at the end of the day, they've got to make sure that this document is attractive to potential investors, the whole story fits together, and the capital raise hopefully will be successful. Let's look at some of the comments that I've obtained from talking to intermediaries. I was quite amazed at this one. In the United Kingdom, which has had crowdsourced funding for about 6.5, 7 years, crowdsourced funding is now a larger share of the market than venture capital. Now, the UK was one of the key players in venture capital for years, and to think that in 6.5 to 7 years, crowdsourced funding has a larger share of the market than venture capital is quite amazing. This market is going to grow in Australia just the same. The key question for you, is your firm going to be there at the virtual beginning? The beginning's already occurred, of course, but we're still in early days. The individual intermediaries appear to have 20 to 30,000 potential investors. They tend to call them their associates. These are people who have listed with them, who receive information on the companies that the intermediary is presenting to the market. So there's a lot of people. Some of them could be on more than one intermediary's website, but still, it's a lot of people. Now, some of the intermediaries have expressed a preference for companies to do some pre-seed funding before proceeding to crowdsource funding. And they're really relying on the company to sit down and talk to them, and in the discussions, perhaps to do some capital raising under Section 708. Because yes, Section 708 still exists, it's still there. Just to remind you, a company can raise up to $2 million from 20 investors as long as it does not exceed the 50 shareholder limit under Section 708. And why they want some of the companies to do this is to get some proof that the shares in the company have got some attractiveness to people who've got some idea of what this company is doing, and normally a Section 708 investor would have some idea of what the company is doing. And it will also help establish what the company's value is. So that's a bit of pre-warning for any of you if you're talking to intermediaries that they may raise this concept of pre-seed funding. That's what they want to do it for. And the other concept that you will probably hear about is a private launch. Now, this is under crowdsourced funding, and what is being done, apparently with the concurrence of ASIC, is that the first 30 days is a private launch whereby the company introduces employees, shareholders, customers, suppliers, family and friends of shareholders and senior management to the concept to see whether they are interested in investing. Now, the benefit for this is a bit similar to the earlier one, and that is that the intermediary is able to say, well, this company's trying to raise $500,000, and we have had a attempt to talk to people as part of a private launch, and we've already raised $150,000, so that the target is now $350,000. It's just trying to lay some foundations before the wider public are brought into it. That will then mean that the company has only got a 60-day period of the public listing, because the maximum period that you can have for crowdsourced funding equity raising is 90 days. You can have a lesser period, but 90 days is the maximum. And obviously, if you're doing this, you would need the full 90 days. So let's now look at the crowdsourced funding offer document. I believe you as accountants would normally coordinate the preparation of the crowdsourced funding offer document, and we have developed a very detailed template which takes you through this entire process, answers all the questions contained within the legislation, and also makes suggestions on other documentation that you should be including, so that the document can be prepared so that it's then able to be submitted to the intermediary, because the intermediary has the final say whether they are accepting the offer document to place onto their website. Now, all of the documentation that's utilized in the preparation of the offer document has to be kept for at least 6 years. So my suggestion, you make sure that you've set up a filing system to ensure that those documents are kept. There will be liaison required over the period that this document's been produced between your office, the client, and the intermediary. And there'll be some toing and froing as documents are drafted and sent primarily to the intermediary, but first of all, obviously to the client for their approval, so as to get the final document. And obviously the artwork design and all that also has to be coordinated to get all of this finished so that a very presentable offer document is available. And when it's all finished, of course, the company then submits the final document to the intermediary, and the intermediary will then, once they're satisfied, will place that document onto the company's website. And that is where all potential investors have to go to place their investment, because they need to acknowledge to the intermediary that they have read the investment warning, one of the key requirements of the government. The other key requirement is that the intermediary has to operate a communication facility for the period of the listing, whether it's 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. There needs to be communication. Now, communication has been extended a bit from what the legislation itself and the minister's speech indicated, so that it includes videos, webinars, in-house presentations, are what some or all of the intermediaries are doing with their clients, so that there's information in the marketplace. But during the period that the company is listed on the intermediary's website, the company directors and senior managers need to be available virtually on a daily basis to ensure that answers are able to be supplied for any questions that have been raised by potential investors. Because this is what the legislation requires, that there is a communication back to these investors. Just remember, the maximum investment that an individual retail investor can make is $10,000 per company in a 12-month period. And that the investor, the retail investor, has a 5-day cooling off period, 5 business days cooling off period after they have signed on with the intermediary and paid their money to the intermediary who holds it until the capital raising period has concluded. Let's now look at the intermediaries. I've listed them here for you, and these details will be obviously included in the PowerPoint slides that we're going to send you tomorrow. So we've supplied you the name of the intermediary, the city that they operate in, and their web address. If you're interested in this market, and I'm sure you are, otherwise why would you be participating in this webinar? I would recommend that you spend some time just scanning the intermediaries' websites and getting a feel for what's going on. And then asking yourself the question, which of my clients could participate in this? Now, we have our matrix, which will assist you in that process. But it is quite interesting who's out there trying to raise capital. Now, obviously, not all people who try to raise capital are going to be successful. And that's something that you will need to make sure your clients are aware of. So they're the intermediaries, 7 of them. So in summary, let's look at what all this is about. Crowdsourced funding is a great opportunity for some of your clients to go to the next level. This opportunity has never been available previously in Australia. I, for one, have spent 20, 25 years of my career helping companies to try to raise capital using Section 708. And it was difficult. Limit of 20 investors, the 50 shareholder limit staring you in the face the whole time, and the maximum capital raise, $2 million. Thank goodness we now have the opportunity to assist small and medium-sized enterprises to raise larger sums of money from more people. It creates new income stream opportunities for proactive accountants. This market is probably not for everyone. We've done our calculations and would really like to have around 500 accounting firms subscribe to these standalone packages on top of our subscribers. That probably gives enough depth around Australia to support the industry. One of the intermediaries has forecast that within 3 years, this market will be worth just under $1.5 billion a year in Australia. And if you look at the success of what's happened in UK, USA, New Zealand, Canada, parts of Europe, I really believe that's going to occur again in Australia. Do you want to create some new revenue streams for your accountancy business? This is a great opportunity. Your accounting team members will thank you because they will have the opportunity to undertake some interesting and varied work. As one young lady said to me, I'll be doing real accounting work. Now, to get more information, you can go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au, and then click on to crowdsource funding. And we have a complete learn more on all aspects of crowdsource funding available for you to review. This is the second webinar in a series we've been presenting on crowdsource funding. So if you want to go back and look at the first webinar, which covers some of the preliminary information that we haven't included in this webinar today, we were going to include it, but it would have meant the webinar went for a bit over an hour and a half. We thought that was too long. You can click on to that webinar on YouTube, and this detail, of course, will be in the PowerPoint slides that you will get tomorrow. So you can see the first webinar as well if you wish. Let's now turn to who we are, ESS BIZTOOLS. I'm an accountant. Some of you know me, and I've been around for quite a fair way. I was a principal in an accounting firm. I've been the company secretary and chief financial officer of a listed public company, and my consulting company contracted with Oz Industry for 11 years to be the business advisor with about 11 other advisors around Australia for one of the government's major grant programs, COMET, Commercialising Emerging Technology, which has now been rolled into Commercialising Technology. So we've had a good look at all aspects, and we produce a whole range of product packages to assist accountants and advisors to deliver a range of non-compliance services. So we've produced a crowdsourced funding equity raising product package to assist you on this journey. So our normal subscription is $999 for this product, including GST, but we've got a special discount for New Year, 40%. Only $599, including GST. I don't think you're going to get anything cheaper. And as far as I know, we are the only organisation producing this type of material for accountants in Australia. This special price closes on the 31st of January. What we've included in this is a free 1 hour mentoring session. And I'm allocating 3 sessions a day. So if you want to get into our time slot to get the mentoring session, I'd suggest that you confirm your subscription as soon as possible so that Evelyn in my office can then allocate you a webinar time for a session so that your team can then get activated. And you can have as many people as you like in that webinar. Or you can subscribe for our overall goal package. Now, that's normally $2,970 and includes the crowdsourced funding equity raising product package and 22 other product packages. And you can see those details on our website. And we've also included the 40% discount on the goal package. So only $1,782, including GST. And it's also closing on the 31st of January. And it also includes that 1 hour mentoring session on crowdsourced funding and 1 hour mentoring session on the overall gold package. But I would appreciate it if you would get in as soon as possible so we can put you into the schedule for those webinars. Now, to subscribe, all you need to do is go to ESSBIZTOOLS.com, click on New Year Promotion, use the code, if you're going for crowdsourced funding, CSFC40, or if you're going to invest in the gold package, which will help you to really develop a business advisory team within your accounting firm, GOLDC40. I want to know now whether you've got any questions. I'm just going back to questions. So I'm just going to click on and see if anyone has sent me any questions. I do have a couple that have been sent through. What happens at the end of the 90-day or lesser period? So the period for the offer. The intermediary reports back to the company to say the minimum subscription has been achieved. Unfortunately, if the minimum subscription has not been achieved, the intermediary has to refund that money, pardon me, to the investors. But as long as the minimum amount's been achieved, the intermediary will send the company a list of the investors and will transfer to the company's nominated bank account the net amount after the deduction of the intermediary's agreed fee. So that's what happens afterwards. The next question I got is, what does the company have to do once the intermediary is reported to them? Well, the first obligation is to prepare the share certificates. And I would recommend that when sending those to the investors, the chairman and the CEO write an appropriate welcome email to your new investors. But also a return has to be lodged with ASIC. That's a return of allotment of shares for crowdsource funding. And I've just got another question that's just come through. If the minimum is not achieved, are the fees still payable to the intermediaries? Good question, John. My answer to that is I don't believe so, but it will obviously depend on what's been included in the agreement. This is one of the reasons intermediaries are charging upfront fees, on board fees, or whatever you want to call them, to cover this. It's obviously a situation that could emerge, and that would be part of the negotiations with the intermediaries. I hope that that satisfies you. And obviously, it is going to vary intermediary to intermediary. The law did not specify what happened. What further involvement does the intermediary have? The answer to that is none. The intermediary has to submit a report to ASIC, but the intermediary has no further involvement with the company, unless, of course, the company decides that they've raised $500,000 and in 4 months' time there's some further projects they would now like to do. They might want to go back to that same intermediary and say, we now want to raise $1 million. They're under the 5 million limit within the 12 months. Are you prepared to enter into a new agreement? And then the process starts all over again. A new crowdsource funding offer document has to be prepared. Another question, how many share registers does a crowdsource funding company have to keep? Well, the answer is there could be 3. The ordinary shareholders, which is the 50 shareholder limit, which would include any Section 708 shareholders, the employee shareholders, and the register for crowdsource funding shareholders. So you could have 3 registers. Another question that I've got is, how many directors does a crowdsource funding company need? And the answer to that under the legislation is 2, of which a majority of the directors must reside in Australia. So obviously, if you're going to have one overseas director, you've got to have 3 directors. Now, I think I've got another question here that I missed before. Do we have any stats on successful versus not successful? I've glanced at them and I've talked to a couple of the intermediaries. One intermediary has indicated to me that they had 1 company out of 5 unsuccessful. That was when the requirement was for an unlisted public company. You can see some of them on the intermediaries' websites that have not been successful. It is going to vary. I think the intermediaries, as far as they can, will be trying to exclude companies that they don't believe are going to have any opportunity of raising capital. But a lot of it's going to get back to doing the preliminary work, identifying who the friends, family, employees, customers, suppliers might be, so that they could be disclosed in the discussions with the intermediaries, and making sure that this company has got a good story to tell. Now, startups are participating in this market. It really gets back to what's the story? What's the product? If they've already received some government grants like accelerating commercialisation from Oz Industry, I suspect that will help, because both the intermediary and investors will know that those companies have been through a whole range of processing to determine their eligibility for those grants. What we are going to do within ESS BIZTOOLS is, for our subscribers, we are going to keep ongoing registers. So to put that information that I showed you early in the webinar on the companies that have already raised and the ones that are currently in progress, we're going to try to update that on about a monthly basis by scanning the websites. I've talked to a few of the intermediaries. I don't think they're going to openly send it to us, but they're still finding their way, and perhaps some agreements will be able to be negotiated for them. I really want to be able to say to them that I've got a force of around 500 accounting firms plus our subscribers who are out there helping businesses get ready for this, and then I think I'll get a bit more cooperation from them. So if you think this is worthwhile, please sign on, because that's the only way I suspect we're going to get them really committed. Now let's look at your action plan. Pardon my voice. Are you interested in offering a proactive service to your clients and prospects? Offering your team the opportunity to work on interesting and varied work, creating new income streams for your accountancy business. And I hope you are, because the rest of my comments are directed at that type of people. So what's the next steps? Well, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the ESS BizTools Crowdsourced Funding Equity Package. Only costs you $599, and you get a 1-hour mentoring session as well, and you get underway on this journey. We will be updating the material over the next 12 months, so if you subscribe, you're the beneficiary of those updates. And then you're able to reserve your time for the complimentary 60-minute mentoring session. And then you could start with the client matrix. That's what I'll be suggesting in the mentoring session. How about you sit down and go through your clients and identify who you think fits the categories. We've identified 10 non-legal categories based on what clients are doing. And we're now going to have this whole list of these different types of businesses that I've shown you some of them today, that people are wanting to do something, they've already done it, or they're wanting to raise capital. So that will give you a lot of people to think about. Your next action would be to read the seminar material, because our suggestion is you then plan to present a seminar. No reason you couldn't be doing this by the second week of February, so that you invite those clients and prospects that you've identified in for a session. Now, the material also includes some promotional material that you can place on your website to tell your clients and the world in general that you're proactive and wanting to do something. There's also a media release you could send to your local media. In the capital cities, of course, you've got free newspapers in the suburbs. Send it out to them. Give the local media officer a telephone call and see if they want to ask you some additional questions. I think you'll find they're very cooperative. And then the key thing is to follow up everyone who comes to the seminar. Even if they say, thanks very much, but we're not interested, some might say, oh, I'd like to have another look at this in a year's time. Make sure you diarise that and keep them informed in the interim. Because if they got some sort of thought that they might want to do this, you don't want to end up losing them to someone else. So follow them up, keep them informed. But the ones who are interested, you then need to prepare the proposals to them. And in our system, we've got a couple of cut-off dates so that you can do the initial work, perhaps charge a client $1,000 or $2,000 to give them those briefings I talked about, and let them make a decision then. Do they want to proceed, or are they not interested? Once they find out the real details, I suppose, in more depth. Utilize the material throughout the year. We're going to be producing updates, so make sure you always refresh your website. Send the newsletters. We'll be producing suggested newsletters around every couple of months that you can send out. And we're going to give you some occasional media releases that you could send to your local media. But if you have some real action occurring out of your clients, make sure you, with the client's permission, of course, arrange for some media interest. Now, the media have been specifically excluded from a lot of the controls this legislation's got, so they can write articles on your clients. The government is keen to have that happen so that there's publicity as to what is happening in the marketplace. So thank you very much for participating in this webinar. We're going to send you tomorrow an executive summary on what we've discussed today, bit over 1 page, so you can quickly scan it, talk to your colleagues about it. We're going to give you a link to the webinar recording, so if you want to sit down and watch this again, you can, or perhaps you want some of your colleagues to watch this to commit to becoming involved. And we're going to send you a copy of the PowerPoint slides, which has got some of those web references whereby you can dig up information. If you want to send me an email or ring me, there are my contact details, and that will be confirmed to you again tomorrow in the PowerPoint slides. If you want more information on ESS BizTools, please go to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au. We also have a government grant program which identifies government grants, essbizgrants.com.au. And we are producing material for small business, trying to encourage them to go to our subscribers. So we do list our subscribers if the subscriber has given us their permission, of course. And we are trying to encourage people who go to our website to go to accountants we know have got the material. Last of all, obviously, Happy New Year for 2019. I trust it is very successful for you and your colleagues. And the team at ESS BizTools really do look forward to servicing you and helping you on crowdsource funding so that you can assist your clients on this very exciting journey opportunity. Have a great day. Goodbye.